right, I'm gonna get into some massage for breathing, especially right now with coronavirus going on. Breathing is a huge issue with that sickness. Living up in the mountains, a lot of people struggle to breathe up here as well. So we'll go into some techniques to help expand the rib cage and just massage the muscles that are all involved in breathing. And I am going to start with some peppermint oil as well. That helps open up the sinuses. You can use rosemary also, but I personally like peppermint. It also helps with headaches and minor aches as well. And I use a bolster to go underneath the ankles. You can use a pillow at home. And this is going to help take any pressure off of the low back. So you can put some of the oil into your hand and then have your partner, family member take some nice deep breaths. I like to start off with some compressions. Just pushing gently on either side of the spine, walking my hands down to the hips. Pushing the shoulder away from the spine, finding that shoulder blade here. And same thing on the other side. I always like to give a nice push against the sacrum at the base of the spine. Help decompress that lumbar spine. And at home you can use coconut oil, olive oil. Both of those work pretty well for massage. So you want to cover their back in oil. You don't want too much. Otherwise you'll just kind of slide around. But enough that you can glide along the skin. I'm just doing a nice butterfly movement here, pushing with my palms on either side of the spine, and then tracing along the hips with my thumbs, and doing a nice pull on the ribs, and then taking it up to the base of the skull here. And then I'm going to go to one side. Continue warming up these muscles a little. Again, just using kind of that palm, the meat of your palm. Push along these muscles that run along the spine here. You can go either direction, down toward the base of the spine and then back up toward the shoulders. Now I'm going to start getting into those breathing muscles here. Doing a nice raking motion. So I have my fingers spread out. I'm going along the ribs here. You want a decent amount of pressure so you're not tickling your person. move the arm out of the way here and create some nice separation from the hip up into the shoulder blade. Creating some nice space in that side body. I'm going to add to this raking motion here. And basically what I'm doing is scooping up the tissue with my hands, almost like lobster claws, and coming in and getting at that tissue. And you can even get pretty far under their abdomen here. Do some nice pulling motions. Of course, if you're working with a woman, be mindful of her breasts. All right, so now the rib cage is about here. You have your floating rib that ends here, and then it goes all the way up into your upper thoracic. So I'm going to focus on the vertebra where the ribs connect here. And I'm just going to use my thumbs and push that muscle away from the spine. And I'm kind of using my left thumb as support under my right. You don't have to push too hard. And then you can use your palms. Keep pushing away. And I'm going to work up into that shoulder as well. Just go over that edge of the shoulder blade. I'm always trying to connect everything, so usually I'll add a little shoulder pull, go down the spine, make everything feel nice and connected. Another technique you can use along the ribs, you can grab at the tissue here, so you're getting towards the lat muscle. And do a nice push along the ribs, moving that tissue. With some people, you might actually be able to grab the tissue and roll it. Just kind of tracing the ribs here with my thumbs. You have muscles on the actual rib bone, and then you have your intercostals, so those are the muscles between the ribs. We really want to feel for those and move our thumbs along those to warm them up and create space. And just some nice flushing circulatory movements here. Now something really useful is your elbow. So if you're not a trained massage therapist, chances are your hands are going to get tired pretty fast. So something I like to do is start here at the waist. I'm just pushing broadly along my forearm here, finding that hip crest, and then going right next to it, right into that waist. And then my elbow is now pushing against the muscle that runs along your spine here. And I can actually see it raised a bit next to my elbow. And then I'm just going to slowly drag my elbow. And again, this is getting at that connection point that we have where our ribs meet our spine. And just make sure you're not pressing directly onto the spine. And I just carry that all the way through up to the top of the shoulder. And then you can take that elbow back and basically do the same thing in the opposite direction. As much as you want to, just keep doing a nice massage along the ribs. Doesn't have to be super intense. Do the same thing on the other side. And once you're finished with both sides, you want to add some nice finishing movements. And this sort of butterfly technique is always a good one. Down along the spine, out to the sides of the hips here, and up along the ribs, over the shoulders. Some people take it all the way down the arms. And then pulling toward the base of that spine, or the base of the skull. Most people's ears meet their shoulders, so giving the shoulders a nice push down is always good. Right, now we'll move on to the front side. All right, so once your person is flipped over, we're going to add support underneath the knees. Again, this is going to help out the low back. And we're going to start with some nice compressions. So I'm just going to find like the heads of the shoulders here. Use my palms, a nice push down to the ground, alternating your hands. Then you can move, so you're pushing their arms down toward their feet. Grab your oil if you have it and do a nice inhalation for them. Take some nice deep breaths. And if if they're comfortable with it, you can have them take a deep breath in, using your palm, gentle push down and away, just below the collarbone. I'm not pressing super hard onto their sternum, just a nice push, creating some space in that collarbone area, and some nice pressure on the chest. You can also use both hands and using the bottom part of your palm, finding that collarbone on either side and pushing down. If you have a female person, then you can use your fists. And I'm just using this part of my fingers. All right, and another really nice compression is from the side here. So I'm going to find sort of the meat of the rib cage right here in the middle of their abdomen. I'm not on their waist, not in that softer part between the ribs and the top of your hip bone. I'm going right beneath the chest here. So you should feel the ribs pretty solidly connecting with your hand. So I'm going to go there. And then if you have a male client, you can put your other hand here and then just give a nice gentle push. Again, we're just kind of moving the ribs in a way that, you know, they don't normally get moved. If I had a female client, I would just put my hand here. If they're very big chested, you can ask them to just move their breast tissue out of the way. If they want you to put your hand here, you can do that as well. I just recommend having them put their hand on their breast tissue, just so there's no doubt that you're just trying to do this professionally. And now we can do some more pulls here. If you want to try doing it from this side, using both hands. And just pulling at the ribs. An easy stretch, traction. It'll also kind of stretch into here. Just pulling their arm, using their forearm. You want to be mindful of the wrists, the joints here. I use both hands. Give a nice pull here. You could even place your arm here on the triceps, down at the hip. Stretching that whole side body here. Some other breathing muscles we don't think about are the ones through here into our upper chest, into our neck, right? When we take shallow breaths, a lot of times it's all up here, especially when we're stressed out. So getting at those neck muscles, those really fine breathing muscles up here is going to be really helpful as well. I'm also going to do a little bit on the chest here too. So again, I'm going to get a good amount of oil going. And Just start some gentle glides along the chest. Again, I'm looking for that collarbone and going under there. Bring my hands, kind of those crab claws again, to grab at the meat of the traps here, where your shoulders start to connect to your neck. And I'm just doing some nice alternating pulling. You can even get underneath, again along the spine, not on the spine. And my palms are flat, facing upward, so his back is completely on my palms. And I'm going to do a nice long pull until my fingertips reach the base of his skull. And there, so I'm right here. So look for the ear, kind of the middle of the ear. You feel that base of the skull here down just a little bit. And then I'm pulling right there. You'll feel kind of a bony process right here. So that's the landmark I'm using on either side to give a nice pull. And again, this is creating space between the discs, allowing for better blood flow, lymph flow. We are going to do the front of the neck a little bit, so I'm going to get some oil on that area. You have the carotid artery you need to be aware of towards the front of their neck, so no intense pressure here. I'm just very gently gliding on either side. For men especially, they have an Adam's apple, so just be mindful of those areas. Right now I'm just using my knuckles and pushing down and back. Turn their head to one side and just using my fingers, starting at the base of the skull, pushing my fingers down here. Sometimes you can even see the pulse in their neck here, so that's the area that you want to avoid. Use your knuckles. Some people like a lot of pressure here on their neck. Just find out what your person wants, what kind of pressure they want. Use your thumbs. And then I just gently use my fingers on the more sensitive area here. Find the top of that collarbone. This can be kind of a weird, sensitive area, so just be gentle. But a lot of tightness happens through here. This is where these muscles kind of pass through underneath the collarbone. Stuff gets kind of gunky in there. Massage on the pecs. You do have your ribs underneath here. So getting this nice and warmed up is only going to help that circulation along the ribs, those breathing muscles. If you want to give a nice stretch on the side of the neck here into the shoulder, you can use, I'm using my left hand to hold the base of the skull kind of along the side of my hand. And then my right hand, my palm, is going to push kind of on the meat of the top of the shoulder here. And I'm just going to push away. And then you can do the same thing on the other side. And we're going to finish with some of the more minute breathing muscles in the face, the nasal passages. We also have sinus cavities on the back of the head, which we kind of got at when we were pulling at the base of the neck. So obviously your sinuses, your breathing, all of that's connected. So we're going to do some face massage to kind of finish everything out, drain the sinuses. I like to start on the forehead with both palms, starting above the eyebrows, and then applying some pressure, pulling the hands back. And then you can do them down on either side of the face here, down to the temples. We can cause some nice sinus drainage with the ears, doing some gentle pulling. You can pull them kind of out, or grab at the tops of the ears, pulling them up towards you. Again, nothing super aggressive. And then I'm just kind of massaging around the ears, behind. Techniques around the eyes and the nose. You give a nice pinch on the eyebrows here. Pinch along the eyebrows. You can do that a few times. Do some gentle tapping. This helps stimulate the lymphatic system, which is in charge of our immunity, flushing all the toxins, as people call them, out of the body. You know, when you have a cold or something, you're sick, people talk about your lymph nodes being swollen. So your lymph nodes are part of that lymphatic system, and they get swollen because they're working extra hard to try and get whatever illness it is out of your body. So these types of tapping motions above and around the eyes help to stimulate that system. You can do some nice circles, applying a decent amount of pressure. So I'm starting kind of at the bridge, middle of the bridge of the nose here, and just pushing down. You'll feel that orbital bone beneath the eye, and I'm just kind of dragging my fingers along that. You can do some nice little circular motions around the nose. And some more pulling. Go down to the chin. Make your person smile. And then using my 4 fingers here, pulling up on that orbital bone, getting at those sinuses. And a scalp massage is always a nice way to end it. Always feels really good. You use your knuckles. If you have nails, a nice scratch. Again, like I mentioned, we have those sinus pockets on the back of the head, so I like to place my fingers so they're all together, pointing upward, and I'm finding the base of that skull there, and on either side I'm putting my fingers straight up and allowing gravity to cause his head to sink onto my fingers. Sometimes this takes a while. Some people have a lot of trouble letting go of their neck muscles. So you can just sit here like this for a minute or two. I'm just kind of grabbing at this tissue as I'm pulling my hands away. You can also trace your fingers along that line behind the head. Maybe end with one last inhalation of your oil. You can do some more of those compressions we did when we started. And that's it. And always advise your client, your person, to drink a lot of water. Massage is going to increase circulation, stimulate the lymph system, like I said. So water is just going to help kind of flush everything out. Otherwise, people can feel sick or woozy if they're not hydrated enough and they're not doing enough to help facilitate that flushing process. And then also, if you can just chill for the rest of the day, not do anything too strenuous. I always recommend that after the massage too. Use it as your opportunity to really take time for yourself. Take hot bath, hot shower afterwards, just to keep the relaxation going.